Sorry, I saw a flash and then it went off. Welcome everyone to the Tuesday, April 4th, 2023 Tumwater City Council meeting. We will go ahead and start off with roll call.
Councilmember Leetta Dalhoff.
I am here.
Councilmember Angela Jefferson.
Present.
Councilmember Joan Caffey.
Present.
Councilmember Eileen Swarthout.
Present.
Councilmember Michael Althauser.
Present.
Councilmember Peter Agabe.
Present.
Councilmember Charlie Schneider.
Present.
And Mayor Debbie Sullivan.
I am present. Next is the flag salute, and Councilmember Swarthout will start us in the pledge.
Thank you. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you. We have two special items this evening. The first one is proclamation on Child Abuse Prevention Awareness Month of April 2023, and Councilmember Dalhoff will be reading this proclamation.
Thank you, Mayor. Whereas the City of Tumwater recognizes our future rests in the hands of our most vulnerable and cherished assets, our children. And whereas all children deserve to live in safe, stable, and nurturing environments that promote healthy growth and development. And whereas child abuse, neglect, and other trauma are recognized as serious public health problems affecting both the current and future quality of life in our community. And whereas it is the responsibility of our community to ensure parents, caregivers, and other adults who influence the health and well-being of children have the support, knowledge, and concrete resources necessary to ensure all children thrive to their greatest potential. And whereas effective child abuse prevention strategies succeed because of partnerships among agencies, schools, religious organizations, law enforcement agencies, healthcare providers, and the business community. And whereas the City of Tumwater continues our commitment to protecting all members of our community and call upon all people to join together to increase public safety and prevent the further abuse and neglect of our children. Now, therefore, Debbie Sullivan, the mayor of the City of Tumwater, does hereby proclaim April 2023 Child Abuse Prevention Month and urges all Tumwater residents, communities, state agencies, faith groups, elected leaders, medical providers, educators, and businesses to increase their participation in efforts to support families, increase and support public safety and youth serving agencies to help prevent the further abuse and neglect of our children and strengthen the community in which we live.
Great, thank you. So we have a couple of attendees this evening. We have Shelley Willis from the Family Education Support Services and Gretchen Toller from the Health Department, and I will come down in just a moment. So I want to just double check. Yes, this microphone working. So here is the proclamation, and also a pencil is a gift that we give everyone. So if you want to say a few words, you can go ahead. Thank you.
Good evening, Council. My name is Gretchen Toller from Thurston County Public Health, and I just want to thank you for this proclamation and recognizing the importance of supporting families and supporting children in their health and a healthy development because they are our future, and making sure that they are healthy is an important part of our community's health. So thank you.
Thank you. Shelley Willis from Family Education and Support Services. Thank you, Mayor Sullivan, council members, and city staff. It's great to see that the city of Tumwater is so dedicated to ensuring the health and well-being of children. Pinwheels are national symbols for happy childhoods, and I hope you'll see blue pinwheels surrounding our community. Thank you.
And all of the council members have pinwheels, and you will be seeing these blue and silver pinwheels in our community for this month. So with that, we will move on to our next proclamation, which is Arbor Day. And Council Member Snyder is going to go ahead and read that proclamation.
Thank you, Mayor. Whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for the planting of trees. And whereas this holiday called Arbor Day was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska. And whereas Arbor Day is now observed throughout the world. And whereas trees reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cut heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce oxygen, provide habitat for wildlife, and are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. And whereas trees are a renewable resource providing paper, wood to build our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other valuable and necessary products. And whereas trees increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our community. And whereas since 1995, the city of Tumwater has been recognized by the National Arbor Day Foundation as a Tree City USA. And whereas the City Council adopted the Urban Forestry Management Plan, which guides the growth, protection, and maintenance of the city's community and urban forest, and to encourage the right tree in the right place. And whereas the city of Tumwater will celebrate Arbor Day with a free event on Saturday, April 22nd, 2023, from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. at Tumwater Historical Park. At this event, residents can take home Arbor Day memorabilia, free potted native plants for the first 100 people, and have the opportunity to ask a professional forester, landscape architect, and horticulturist about the proper care and planting of trees. Now, therefore, I, Debbie Sullivan, Mayor of the City of Tumwater, do hereby proclaim Arbor Day, April 22nd, 2023, and I encourage all people in the City of Tumwater to participate in our Arbor Day and Earth Day celebrations and support efforts to protect our trees and woodlands. Signed in the City of Tumwater, Washington, this 4th day of April in the year 2023.
Thank you, Councilmember Snyder. I do not believe we have anyone here this evening from the Parks Board. The chair was unable to attend this evening. So with that, we'll make sure we get the proclamation to them. Unless, Chuck, did you have anything? No. I know, put you on the spot right there. So we will make sure that the tree board gets the proclamation. Okay, with that, we go to public comment portion. And I see that the list is coming down. All right, hold on one second. We have one person signed up, Darlene Atkins, and I'm also checking, do we have anyone online?
We do not.
Okay, so yes, Darlene Atkins, if you can state your name and your address for the record.
Good evening. My name is Darlene Atkins. I live at 716 Dennis Street, Southeast, Tumwater, Washington. Should I begin?
Yes, go ahead. You have 3 minutes and the clock will start.
Okay. Might have prepared for 5 minutes, but I'm going to do the spoiler alert first then. My reason for being here is health and wellness. Good evening, Mayor Sullivan, council members, city officials. First off, I want to thank you for your public service. I've just finished a 21-year Army Reserve career, And I'm looking for ways I can continue to engage and contribute to the well-being of people. So I started an MPA program. So I'm learning more about public service if I didn't know enough already. But the other concerns I have, as I'm sure you're well aware of, are societal problems that continue. And so I've given some thought to that. And I have these stacks of books for a reason here, is because the books, the peer-reviewed journal, my critical thinking, collaborative relationships in the community, I think are ways that we address our problems and solve them, hopefully. But there's still some problems that are not solved and continue. So, some of these books I'll learn how to synthesize and do a better literature review than I did my first quarter at Evergreen. But, I'm looking at a book, The Public Health Crisis. And so one of those is, this continuing crisis with mass shootings and also child abuse. So I pondered about how could we start earlier? What could we do that might benefit children? And so I've been to the Tumwater School Board a number of times too with public comment. And it's this word that's becoming more and more familiar in our vernacular, and that's neuroscience. So used to be we were worried about our brains when we were 60 or 65, as my mother was when she developed dementia. Why not teach children about their brains from the get-go? And fortunately, it's not my brilliant idea. There's lots of adults, professionals with big credentials behind their names that are already doing it. But opposite of those people we think should be doing it, we even have an actress, Goldie Hawn, when it wasn't popular, back in 2004, got an idea about, hey, I'm tired of seeing children take their lives. And she donated money to an evidence-based program. We like to hear those words these days, evidence-based. It's called Mind Up. It's Cell, but it has a brain tweak. And last, I'm running out of time, health and wellness. So I'd like to do a capstone project and partner with cities and do a health and wellness event. I don't think we have those here for the general public. Department of Health might have it, or for-profit corporations have their nice health and wellness departments, but I'd like to create one for the city. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your time, and I'll be following up again with you all.
Thank you. All right, I do not think we have anyone else signed up for public comment. With that, we will move to the consent calendar, and anyone want to make that motion?
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved by Councilmember Dahlhoff, seconded by Councilmember Swarthout. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. All right, so we have the consent calendar. It is fairly light this evening. We just have the approval of the minutes from the City Council work session of March 14th, approval of the minutes from the City Council meeting on March 21st, and payment vouchers. So with that, we will now go to John Doan, City Administrator Doan, for the memorandum of understanding with the Squaxin Island Tribe.
Madam Mayor, members of the council, the city of Tumwater sits on the ancestral lands of the Squaxin Island Tribe, and our city council and their tribal council over the past decade have had, we don't have an exact count, 5 or 6 joint meetings together to talk about issues of shared concern and interest and opportunity. Probably the most recent success we've had joining with the other jurisdictions in the region has been around the future of Capitol Lake and its transition to an estuary. And it was suggested at our last joint, actually our last 2 joint meetings, but we had a global pandemic that sort of got in the way, that we come up with some sort of overarching agreement, memorandum, something of understanding about how we would cooperate. And so what you have on the agenda is 2 documents. The first one is a memorandum of understanding that creates that overarching framework, essentially establishes the mutual interests in the future of this community, and establishes a framework for the city council and the tribal council to have regular communication and dialogue and work on a whole sundry of issues, ranging from economic development to health and wellness to protection of the environment and habitat and culture and the arts. And so we would ask for your authorization of the mayor to sign that memorandum of understanding. And attached to it is a letter of understanding that creates the framework or the opportunity for us to work specifically on a project that the tribe has on Old Highway 99, which is an office building that's converting to a marijuana dispensary. And for us to work together on being, since we're the local emergency service provider, law enforcement, medical, fire, for us to work together on providing those services. And there are just some details, protocols that we would have to work out to make that happen. So the second request is the authorization for the mayor to sign that letter of understanding. So with that, staff's recommendation is you authorize the mayor to sign both the memorandum and letter of understanding with the Squaxin Island tribe. Good to entertain any questions you have.
Any questions? Councilmember Althauser, then Councilmember Swarthout.
For the joint meetings that actually happen, who provides staff support? Is it just based on which location is hosting and it rotates, or how will that sort of be designated?
And I would imagine there's probably at least one staff person from each jurisdiction that would go to meetings, whether they're here or there.
And so that person would then be charged with things like taking the minutes and
Probably.
complying with OPMA and noticing and those things.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the tribe has a different relationship with OPMA, so that's why the agreement or the memorandum essentially says each jurisdiction is responsible for their own compliance, however they define that.
Okay. Thank you.
Councilmember Swarthout.
I had a question about in the memorandum of understanding. It's on page 2 and it's paragraph 5. Let's see that it may require additional or require educational efforts to promote understanding of the government to government relationships within their respective organizations and with the public. So I think I know what that means, but I was just looking for some more clarification on that.
No, I think that's just saying from the tribe's perspective, this isn't a contractor relationship.
Mm-hmm.
This is a government to government relationship that we're equal parties in that relationship. And I think we've done some work amongst the city staff. We need to continue to do that. I think at a staff level, we've had a pretty good relationship with the tribe, but as people change and come and go and may or may not be familiar with that sort of structure of a government to government relationship, it's important to bring folks up to speed. And similarly, as new elected officials come on board, to understand that we are two governments working together as opposed to one of us contracting with the other or something like that.
When the meetings actually start to happen, then are they like ours? And I've never been to one of their council meetings. Are they very similar, or is there something that we'll have to adapt to or learn? I guess that's the educational piece that I was looking at as well.
Yeah. I actually haven't been to a full tribal meeting, tribal council meeting either. We've been to those joint meetings. I think all of us have. Yeah.
Okay.
Councilmember Dahlhoff.
Thank you, Mayor. I was just thinking other jurisdictions have had this type of relationship. So I'm excited that Tumwater and Squaxin are at this point, right? Through multiple conversations, but that could be another thing is asking the other jurisdictions, like, how are your meetings shaped, right? Just get a feel because they have the same meetings with Squaxin. So we could maybe get a temperature check on that. and then zhuzh it to suit our needs as well.
Any other questions or comments? Councilmember Jefferson.
Yes, like we went to see Nisqually, can we set something up so we can go meet their council also, where they're located?
We did.
We did.
We did do Squaxin.
Mhm.
Okay. Yes.
There's just so many meetings, Angela.
Yes, we did.
Any other questions? All right, I'm looking for a motion. Okay, Councilmember Daha.
Move to authorize the mayor to sign the memorandum of understanding and letter of understanding with the Squaxin Island Tribe, establishing a framework for an ongoing government-to-government relationship.
And I second.
Okay, it's been moved by Councilmember Doha, seconded by Councilmember Jefferson. Any discussion on the motion? Okay, with that, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Motion carries unanimous. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
All right, our next item is the Park at the Preserve naming, and Chuck Denny will be presenting.
Thank you, Mayor Sullivan. And Melody, I think you can put that up anytime. There we go. Name. Oh. There we go. It's nice to come to you tonight without what I hope is not a controversial issue, and the city doing the city doing something great and nearing completion of our newest neighborhood park located in the Preserve housing development. It's been a long time coming, years and years, in the negotiations with two different property owners and the acquisition of this property, about 2.5 acres for a neighborhood park in the what we would call the southeast section of the city. I could do this now. Anticipated completion date of the park after discussions today is we're hoping to be completely done by May 1st. We had a lot of supply chain issues with this park, and I was talking with Councilmember Schneider earlier this evening. We ordered the play structures for this park last October, knowing that we were going to have some delay issues in shipping. That's a play toy or a medium play toy structures is usually a 6 to 8 week kind of turnaround, and it's on site. It's been 6 months. We got the play toy last week. So it's still crated and boxed up, but we had the contractor back out today, and the posts for the initial installation of the structure are going in today, tomorrow, hopefully concrete on Thursday, and we'll be working over the next several weeks to complete the main play structure and then start to install the zip line that goes in the lower portion of this park. That's quite a structure to build and to secure with all the tension that happens with using the zip line, but certainly it's going to be popular. The shelter roof still needs to be completed. We're waiting for PSC to come and install our electrical meter, which will require an L&I inspection, and then we'll be all set with lights in the shelter and electricity for irrigation and plug-ins. Weather dependent, we still have things like striping the basketball court, finishing some of the landscaping, doing some work on the artificial turf where it has to be dry. We'll go into a punch list situation towards the end of the month with the contractor and knock out those punch list items, and the park will be done. So part of having a park completed is doing a park sign, which requires a park name. And then we will have a park opening and invite you all to come to a ribbon cutting ceremony where we'll open this officially to the neighborhood. So as part of doing a park name, the city has an ordinance on how we name parks. And some of that was explained in your staff report, but I'll go through it really quick. Right here. Yeah, it's me, not her. Let's see. So the process goes, we solicit to the neighborhood or the projected users of a park facility. In this case, it's a neighborhood park. So we solicited name suggestions from not only the preserve housing development, but the housing development in neighborhoods surrounding the preserve. Everyone anticipated to use this facility, and really anyone in the city could participate. We asked them to send us their suggestions and what they thought the park should be named. So after we did that through social media, we did that with direct mailings, and we did that with signage at the park site. The next step in the process is all those names come to me, and I go through them all and make sure there's not anything inappropriate. And I'm happy to say this group of names that we received, there was no inappropriate names. I then forwarded it to the city council, to the Parks Commission, and the Parks Commission reviewed it at their March 15th meeting. They select a name, and then they forward it to you with a recommendation for approval. You can take their recommendation and approve the name that they have sent. In this case, it's Kindred Park. Or if you have other names, either from the list of names that were submitted or other names that you just came up with on your own, you can send those back to the Park Commission for reconsideration, which they will do, and then they will send the name back to you for reconsideration again. And you can see how that process would go. It's always worked, so I have high hopes tonight. You can see here, let's see, this is some of the policies on how we name parks and how you might think of a name, whether it's geographic or common usage, identification for a facility, if it has historic or cultural attributes. There's language to if a person or a corporation, a business donates a significant amount of land for the park or money to build the park, and then stipulates that as part of that donation, they want the park named after them or after their company. You have the option to do that. It can also be named after a person who's done a lot of, been very involved in the city and city parks or civic organizations. And we don't normally name parks after living people. Although I would tell you, as soon as we passed this ordinance, we had Jim Brown here and we named the Jim Brown Park after him. So really you can do it any way you want. So Kindred Park, let me tell you a little bit about the Kindreds. This is a picture of them, Dave Kindred and Talitha Kindred. She doesn't look particularly happy to be here tonight, but I think that was typical of photos of the day. An interesting story, and I even learned, even dealing with Tumwater history as much as we have in the Parks Department, I learned things I didn't know about the Kindred family, and I'll share that with you really quick. In 1840, the Kindreds were living in Missouri, which is where the original Tumwater settlers came from, and they were good friends with George and Isabella Bush. Together, they made plans to go west, and having the financial means to do so, the two couples financed the journey and were responsible for bankrolling the entire wagon train that came from Missouri to Tumwater. Upon reaching Tumwater, the Kindreds claimed 640 acres, which was what is now close to Black Hills High School, in a donation land claim. Dave Kindred, along with George Bush and Michael T. Simmons, built the grist mill at Tumwater Falls in the winter of 1846 and 1847. And David was also one of the original signers of the petition asking Congress to create Thurston County. They were both originally buried next to George and Isabella Bush in our cemetery on the Union Cemetery side of our historic cemetery. At some point, and I couldn't get a date, but at some point in the past, development occurred on Little Rock Road, or improvements were made to Little Rock Road, and they were reinterred at the Masonic Cemetery on Cleveland Avenue. So that's where they are today. And on their headstone, it reads, they settled Tumwater in 1845, and the first school was held in their home in 1849. So as far as early white settlers go in Tumwater, I think they had a significant impact. I think the Parks Board felt that it was appropriate to name this facility after them, since we have parks and schools named after the Bushes. This is a couple that are often forgotten or overlooked. They did have a big impact on how people got here and what happened once they did get here. So with that, I would turn it back to you for questions or comments and discussion on what you would like to name the park.
All right, any comments? Councilmember Gabi.
So I was reading that.
Do you want to come closer?
Oh, there we go. So I was reading I forgot what I was reading maybe Tuesday or Wednesday, and I read about a local park being named. So naturally I got curious about it and I started reading about the story. Is it Kindred Park they chose or Kenwood?
Yes, Kindred Park.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Council Member Swarthout.
Thank you. Until I read this, I was not aware of the Kindreds as well. And I think, that what a great way we're keeping it in the family type. We've got Isabella Bush, and now to have another one named after a pioneer family, I think seems appropriate.
I would add that their daughter married Michael T. Simmons. So there is more of a connection there through all the Tumwater pioneers. And it got a little messy after that, but yeah, they were all working together.
Councilmember Snyder, did you have a question?
I do. So first of all, I would like to thank all those individuals who acknowledged all my hard work and dedication in making our park a reality by suggesting the park be named after me. Having said that, as a council, we speak of honoring the indigenous people of the area and addressing the issues of diversity, equity, and inclusion. We then as a council should reconsider naming the park from Kindred Park and be more sensitive to our past, highlighting today and future generations to come. Examples that comes to mind is possibly naming it after William Owen Bush, first African-American elected to the Washington State House of Representatives. He also helped establish Washington State University. Other possible names we might consider are Bush Prairie Park, New Market Park, or names related to our indigenous peoples. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Kathy, did you have something?
I do. I'm very disappointed in the choice of this name. None of us here even knew who this person was. And I think going back and drawing from the past is good at times, but just to call this Kindred Park, people don't know. And if our process is what we have here on paper and what we've hopefully done somewhat in the past, there was one vote for this name. There were 7 votes for Charlie's name, and then the next second most votes and suggestions were for things that fit more with how we're supposed to do this. They were for preservation park preserve, things that make sense to people presently. And I want to say that this does not meet the list that Chuck just had up there, especially it says consideration will be given primarily to the neighborhood that it's going to be in, to speak kind of to what the neighborhood is, geographic, not just a name, not just kindred, plus that word means blood relatives. It means your relations. It means, it's not a park name to me and to many others who have, responded to this. I mean, neighborhood, where is it? We're excited about expanding where we go with our parks. Geographically, where is it? It's on the prairie. It's what we've been talking about the prairie, to preserve it. And we've been talking about what we want to do in terms of caring for the prairie. And out of the blue, we put up a name that probably 6 people in Tumwater even know who this is, what it is, and to just have it be a name, Kindred Park. I mean, those are my kin. I don't know. It's out of left field for me, and I feel it is not sticking to what it is that the reasons why we want to name parks And I understand, you know, we've done things for the Bushes, and which seems to be a different story. And I mean, the story that Isabella Bush had, you know, in her involvement in the settling and so forth. And also, this name doesn't, you know, currently, it doesn't have someone who's, well, the most ancient people, the earliest settlers, they were involved in civic things, but there's been nothing, you know, since then. And so I'm really, like I say, I'm really disappointed. I don't think this is what says anything about we now have a park in southwest this part of the city. It's out there on the prairie. It's at the preserve. It's all kinds of things. It's just this name, and it's not overly meaningful to the community at this point, and it hasn't been you know, emphasized. So I would like us to, as a council, to go to the procedures that that Chuck mentioned, some of the ones that were actually under the naming process. And I don't even know if all the council members saw the original list to choose from, but I would like to open it up again, or have the council make some suggestions and have them rethink this. And also, I want to say that somebody involved in this process crossed a line that we have been drilled into us as council members and threatened with our lives, that we leak things to the press. And I felt like what was said about the choosing of this name, it appeared as though it was a fait accompli, that this is what the park is called, and we are just to stamp it tonight. That's not right. That shouldn't have been done. That shouldn't have been already out there. And which is probably the reason, you know, people have commented or called. So I think we're missing the purpose here, and missing a real opportunity in naming and creating a space and a neighborhood and a geographic statement and an environmental statement about our about what we want to do with our parks and our environment. So
all right,
I'm suggesting this go back to the.
Okay, well, first we're going to deal with what we have, other comments, and then we'll make a motion and see what we're going to do. So Councilmember Dahlhoff.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilmember Cathy, that was a lot to unpack. And so I want to combine Councilmember Schneider and Councilmember Cathy. What I would ask is, I hear what you both said, but I didn't hear a recommendation or a solution that differs from what's tonight. Tonight, I read select a name. On page 30 of our packet, number 4 says approve the name Kindred or disapprove the name Kindred. So if you don't want the name Kindred, which is pretty clear from both of you, then I would like to hear what you are suggesting, right? I know from that list that the last one, William Owen Bush, came from the Historical Commission, and I'm comfortable with that name, right? I also don't have a lot of feelings about Kindred, but then I go back to Councilmember Cathy's comment about no one knows that. Well, I could say the same could go for Eva G. Hewitt, right? Joan, until you started pushing that and getting that going, most people in Tumwater did not know her, right? So this could be an opportunity for this line and lineage of that family as well, and their place in Tumwater, right? So that's not a reason for me not to vote for it because people don't know. That's on us and that educational opportunity. But I'm also open, but I also didn't hear from you two what you would suggest as an alternative. So if we want to move forward, I need to hear what you are suggesting, because we have 2 options on the thing, right? Approve it or not. So give me something else.
So before we go there, I want to find out if there's any other council members who want to make any comments. Councilmember Althauser.
Sure, thanks, Mayor. You know, I agree a lot with what you had to say, Councilmember Dahlhoff. I think that you know, I for one learned a lot about Eva G. Hewitt thanks to your leadership, Councilmember Kathy, and for that I'm incredibly grateful that we were able to move that forward and get national recognition for not just the area, but then also nationally for the contributions of Eva Hewitt. And you know, I'll be candid that I will profess that do not have the deepest rich knowledge of Tumwater's pioneer history. But I also consider myself a student and continuing to learn more about that. And I sort of see this name as a potential opportunity to further that knowledge and to deepen that connection with the community and with the area. I read the criteria for which we should be looking at those things, and I don't see anything in there that would disqualify this. And I also sort of want to have a degree of deference to the Parks Commission. You know, they looked at the list and they weighed these names and have presented us with an option, including their recommendation, not just presented us options, but also recommended which one we choose. So I want to make sure that if we depart from their recommendation, that that's weighted really firmly in a policy rationale for why we should alternate from or divert from the recommendation that's been presented to us.
So I'm going to ask a clarifying question from our council. So what I am suggesting is that we discuss this as is presented. If it is chosen to not name this park as recommended, then we would go back and have the discussion of what we're going to go to with the Parks Board. So I think with this, the first item on the now is, are we going to go with Kindred Park? And more discussion on that. If that does not pass, then we will discuss what names we are going to send back to the Parks Department. And so we will make these two very clearly separate items. So if everyone's good with that, we will move forward. So is there any other discussion on this before I call? Go ahead, Councilmember Kathy.
I would like to make a quick comment. I think, you know, I don't have anything against naming things for the pioneers. That's not the point here. And I appreciate what both Councilmember Dollhoff and Councilmember Althauser said about Eva Hewitt. But that was an appropriate recognition for a woman who was a postmistress who we were naming the post office. So I just think that we have sort of come out of left field in a way to put this name in a park when we have an opportunity to, you know, make our park go along with our neighborhoods and you know, the geographic, you know, environmental level. I mean, a park is a name that kind of engenders something, and just to have a single name up there that very few people are going to know. I mean, if they had the first school in their house, we should pass that on to the school district. It'd be appropriate for them to have a school. So I'm trying to say, in this context, it does not seem to me to be the most appropriate and statement-making park name, I guess.
Okay, so I'm going to go to Councilmember Jefferson, then I'm going to go back to Councilmember Dollhoff. Councilmember Jefferson.
Yes, Mayor. We always talk about land acknowledgement, and so is there any Native American names besides Tumchuck Park that was discussed?
You have the entire list.
Mm-hmm.
So no, I don't believe there was.
Right. It would be good to see, you know, if we can get one or two Native American names in there.
So I'll go to Councilmember Dollhoff, then I'll go to Councilmember Schneider, but I also might remind you that this isn't the last park that we're be naming here in a relatively short time. We have a very large park that will be also going on 79th. So we have other parks. So this isn't like the last park. So Councilmember Dollhoff and then Councilmember Schneider.
Thank you, Mayor. Clarifying question, Chuck, when we have parks, do we have like signage of like the reason behind the name or a little history behind the name?
If it's someone like Isabella Bush, you know, a lot of people had no idea who that was.
Okay.
We did Isabella Bush Park.
So if a name is
haven't done
chosen
that.
for this area, that is someone's last name, pretty sure that we're going to have an explanation.
interpretive sign.
Okay, got it. And I don't disagree with Councilmember Kathy and her comments, right? But I'm also wondering with Councilmember Jefferson and the naming a park for our indigenous population. I don't want to be performative to just do it and not, right? So have we had conversations with Squaxin, right? So I don't want to just, why are we picking a name and thinking, oh, it would be in honor of Squaxin, whose land that we stole, right? Like, I don't want to do that, right? So if we're going to have that conversation and that's the direction we want to go, then that's going to take some time and there will be no name for this park. So is that direction you want all to go, is hold this up, build that relationship? Because we shouldn't be able to, we want to do it from indigenous history. That is not our call, right? So if we're going to do it for the city of Tumwater and the Tumwater history, which is different, right? Then I would go to our historic commission and what they recommended, right? So if we're going to go that route, I think that's going to have a lot more time and a lot more conversation.
Councilmember Schneider?
Thank you, Mayor. So answering Councilmember Dahlhoff's question, what all other names that we've come up with, as I made my presentation, I mentioned several of them. William Owen Bush, Bush Prairie Park, it is in Bush Prairie, New Market, or names related to indigenous peoples. I don't understand what the urgency is that we have to make a name now. I am in full agreement. If we're going to decide to do it with indigenous peoples, we should confer with them and what they want. And why do we need to name the park right now? I understand we have another park coming up, but when you say another park coming up, that's 3 or 4 years from now. And not only that, let's get it right the first time. I don't care if there's 100 parks. Every time we name a park, we name it with a name that's significant and related to Tumwater's past history. And I think we need to get it right. And this individual, I don't think, no disrespect, is worthy of being as a name for our city park.
Okay. Is there any more discussion? If not, I will look for a motion on what is presented to us. And then if that motion fails, then we will move forward with additional. Do I have anyone who's willing to make the motion?
I'll make a motion. I'll make a motion that we table this tonight, that we make some, either from council or from community or whatever, we make a list, or we submit some other names to be considered and bring this back to council at a, I don't know, specified date. We send this back to the Parks Board.
I'll second that.
So, point of correction. Are we making the motion according to the mayor to take a vote on this? Are we making the motion to table this? It's
Joe
one
just
before
made a
the
motion
other.
to table.
It's one before the other. Right? I mean, am I wrong?
Well, the motion that Joan made was to table this, so
Okay.
Which is an option. So is there any discussion on that, Karen? Yes.
I just want to clarify if this is really a motion to table it, or if you want to postpone it and bring it back to a future meeting.
Okay. So it would be better to postpone it than to table it, correct?
Or yes, to place it on a future
Okay.
meeting.
Place it on a future. So is that, go ahead.
And can I add to the motion? I agree, postpone it and open it up for people to give other names and then bring it back. I mean, I don't want to just postpone it and bring back the same name.
I'm confused now.
Okay, so we need to clarify.
I have a
So
question.
Councilmember Dahl, Swarthout, sorry.
Well, in the background that was provided to us, it says that the park naming process is outlined in our code. Staff have solicited names from the residents of the preserve housing development, as well as other neighborhoods surrounding this facility, encouraging them to submit suggestions for their park. Staff utilize direct mailings, social media posts, and signage at the park site. And then these are the submitted names have been reviewed by the Parks and Recreation Commissioners, and they unanimously recommend the Kindred Park. So I don't know about bringing it back and taking it back to the public any more than it's already been out to the public. I think we've done our due diligence as far as that part goes. We just you don't like the name, so.
Yeah.
We as council members can make suggestions, and I'm not sure that that was clear. And so I'm just saying postpone to have people have an opportunity to submit some other names. I'm not saying erase this name. I'm just saying this is, well, anyway, you know what I'm saying. So anyway, I understand that, you know, you reading that, Eileen, but it also says that the city council makes the final decision. And if the council does not approve of, or if the council prefers a name or names not recommended by the board, it will return it to the Parks Board with recommendations and with additional recommendations. That's what I'm asking. And that is under, you know, our procedures in selecting parks.
So what you're asking, just for me to clarify, you're asking this to go back, and are you suggesting names to have go back? Because that's what the council does, is they present names that go back to the process. So what are your names that want to go back to the process? Because all the public has already submitted theirs and the park department has looked at it.
Yeah, I'm saying, I don't know, has council had that conversation? Are we going to have that conversation tonight about names? Are we going to make a list tonight? Are we going to postpone this and plan a work session, talk about the indigenous thing? I mean, I could come up with some names, yes. But I mean, are we putting that all together tonight to send back? Or are we postponing any decision on this, making a list out of further?
So here's what I'll do. I'll take a vote on if council wants to postpone this, and then we can figure it out from there. So if there's no further discussion, I'm going to call for the vote of postponing this. So I will do roll call vote so we are very clear on who's doing that, so that I make sure I don't from sound voice misinterpret what the vote is. So with that, I will call for the vote, and I will go along on the diet, and then I'll go to in Zoom. Councilmember Snyder, yay or nay?
Yes on postponing.
Councilmember Jefferson.
Yes, postpone.
Councilmember Agabi.
No.
Councilmember Dahlhoff.
No.
Councilmember Althauser.
No.
Councilmember Swarthout.
No.
Councilmember Kathy.
Yes.
Okay. It is 4-3, so the motion fails. So with that, we will now, do I have another motion?
I move to approve the park name as Kindred Park.
Do I have a second for that motion?
I'll second.
Okay. Been moved by Councilmember Dahlhoff. Council is seconded by Councilmember Swarthout. And again, I will do roll call vote to make sure that I have that correct. Councilmember Snyder?
Nay.
Councilmember Jefferson?
No.
Councilmember Agabi?
Yes.
Councilmember Dahlhoff?
Yes.
Councilmember Althauser?
Aye.
Councilmember Swarthout?
Yay.
Is that a yes or a no?
That's a yay.
Yay.
Yes.
Yay. Sorry.
I just really want to be really clear. Okay. And Councilmember Kathy?
No.
Okay. So with that vote 4-3, the name for this park has passed. And I think this is probably one of the very first ones in a very long time that we didn't have unanimous on that. And so great debate. So with that, we are moving to committee reports, and Councilmember Dahlhoff has the first one.
Thank you, Mayor. Public Health and Safety meeting, which is always a great place to be, will be April 11th, 8 a.m., still virtual. Chief's laughing, but he knows it's true. We will be discussing the LEA, which is Law Enforcement Assisted Diversion Program update. We're going to be talking about 2022 police data, so please come with questions. And then it says engine number 3. I have no idea what that means, so come and attend and find out with me.
Great, thank you. General Government Committee, Councilmember Althauser.
Thank you, Mayor. The General Government Committee has not met since our last council meeting, but we will be meeting on Wednesday, April 12th at 8 a.m. There are two items currently on our agenda. One is regarding an ordinance for general guidelines for advisory boards and commissions. And the second item is to just receive an update on the potential community center.
Great, thank you. We have the Public Works Committee, Councilmember Swarthout.
Thank you, Mayor. We too will be meeting at 8 a.m. on Thursday, April 6th. And I think we beat you on the number of items that we have on our agenda. So we have, I don't know that I want to go through all of them because they're really long. So, but we have at least 5 things that we'll be taking action on. So I hope to see you all at the Public Works meeting on Thursday at 8 a.m.
Great, thank you. And Budget and Finance Committee has not met and does not have a meeting scheduled. So now we will go to Mayor, City Administrator report and Administrator Doan.
Great, thank you. Madam Mayor, members of the council, one of the fun things about this job is to read to you some of the notes we received from our community and our constituents about our awesome employees. But before I do that, I want to remind everyone that Saturday, April 8th, 20,000 eggs and thousands of children will show up at Tumwater High School's football field. And if you want more information about that, certainly check the city's website, but 11 o'clock, eggs and kids and a fabulous holiday there. A few of the notes. First one here is to Chad Harville, who's a recreation coordinator in our Parks and Recreation Department. It says, I want to thank you for your good work in organizing and managing our tour to the Seattle Chocolate Factory. And that was from one of the participants in our Old Town Center program, who absolutely loved that. And for those who aren't familiar with Old Town Center, we have an outstanding program for seniors in our community. And it includes lunch and it includes all sorts of activities. And it also includes trips to the chocolate factory. So I can't promise that anyone gets to meet Willy Wonka, but there are some good trips. Another note here to Charlie Grott from the Parks, from the Recreation Program. Also, thanks, Charlie, for everything this season. I'm so grateful for you and your staff and all of the refs that made this season possible. The organization of everything was seen and appreciated. Everyone is so kind and encouraging. And this was for our youth basketball program. Another note to Charlie, I have entered teams in different leagues in the past, and your league is by far the most organized and well run. I appreciate the fact that all the games were on time and 2 referees at every game. I look forward to joining again next year. Great job this year. And so then we transition away from recreation. We talk about some of our public services. This is a note from someone in town who wanted to send a personal note of thanks and say how much I appreciate and commend your public servants. This was actually written to Mayor Sullivan. Commend your public servants, particularly the fire and police departments. Over 50 years, I've been a resident of Thurston County and more recently Tumwater in particular. I have been impressed with your staff's kindness, competence, and professionalism. And talks about some of his personal health challenges, and then says, thanks once again, keep up the good work. My wife and I are thankful and truly blessed to live in this great city. Another note we have is from the West Thurston Regional Fire Authority, addressed to Sean Crimmins, the Assistant Chief. I'm very proud to write and thank you for the actions of Wes Comstock and Kent McDaniels. And they took in reviving a patient in cardiac arrest in the afternoon in March near Little Rock. It is this type of incident that we train for, in which life is counted in minutes and seconds. And it goes into some detail, talks about the Tumwater crews who arrived on the scene and assisted, and that person's life was saved. So Chief Smith wraps that up by saying thank you for the great partnership that we have. And the last one I have is actually addressed to Communications Manager Ann Cook and our Assistant Transportation and Engineering Director, Mary Heather Ames, from the Bush Prairie Homeowners Association. Wishes to express our appreciation for your attendance and participation in our board meeting. your explanation, comments, and response to questions concerning major construction projects within the city and the potential impacts to traffic patterns during construction. So shout out to all those employees. Those are just real quick, some of the ones we receive, but we receive a lot of good comments about all of our employees across the city, and I'm incredibly proud of it. Thank you. Any questions for me?
Any questions? Oh, thank you very
Thank you.
much. All right, so for my report, first is intercity transit meeting will be tomorrow night. So I will be able to present at our next meeting. I had a really busy last couple of weeks. First one was the Habitat for Humanity groundbreaking for our new facility that's over on 93rd and Henderson. That was a great event. And a couple of council members, Councilmember Jefferson and Dahlhoff also attended. I also went to the JBLM Community Leaders Breakfast on March 29th, and apparently Councilmember Jefferson was also there, but there was a lot of people at that meeting. I've gone to them before, and this was like at least triple the size of the normal attendance, so that was very good. I also attended for 2 days, both days, the Black Hills High School senior exit panel interviews, and that was a really great experience. We always worry about our young people and our students. Those panel interviews and the presentations that those seniors presented were absolutely amazing. And so I have total faith that our society is going to be in good hands with young people like that. And then I also attended on the 30th. So the 29th and 30th was South Black Hills High School. And then on the 30th that evening, I attended Anne Freeman Manzanares's, who is the Director of Intercity Transit's retirement. So there seems to be a theme going on with retirements lately. So that was well attended, and that was very good. I've sat on the Intercity Transit Authority Board for almost 10 years. And so she's been the CEO and had 30 years of service. So that is all I have. And so I'm going to now move to council member reports. And sorry, this is almost like a pop quiz. Councilmember Swarthout, do you want to start that? I know.
What if she said, no, I know.
Oh, thank you, Mayor. On March 27th, I attended the Climate Action Steering Committee meeting. And the main item that we discussed, and I was going to have Hannah send to the council members, is that we received a report advancing energy efficiency in resident buildings. And so how this report was, we had requested this report, and it helps us address one of the strategies in the climate plan, and it's to reduce energy in existing residential buildings. And so it gives information about the targets and our housing stock that's available, and also some of the incentives. And we will be seeing incentives coming out of the legislature when we'll be dealing with the climate. It's the CCA money. It was climate. I'm not sure what the extra C is. Oh, is the carbon capture? Okay. So that's what the CCA carbon capture. So the money that's coming from that. So we'll be seeing that in various areas across the state. So it's going to be quite remarkable. It's a lot of money that will be spent. And I'll be attending the Thurston Regional Planning Council meeting on Friday morning.
Great, thank you. Councilmember Althauser.
Thank you, Mayor. I attended the Regional Housing Council meeting on March 22nd, along with Councilmember Kathy. We had a pretty brief agenda in that meeting, which I previewed a little bit at our last council meeting. It was mostly informational items. We did receive a very interesting presentation. I'll have the PowerPoint forwarded on to council. I haven't gotten around to that yet, but it's about our affordable housing allocation. It was sort of tried to illustrate the gap and a bit of a needs assessment for what our goals would be if we really wanted to significantly and substantively address the affordable housing crises in our respective different cities as part of the Regional Housing Council. So that was a very interesting presentation. We also discussed our advisory boards. There's one small change to the charters that we needed to make so that those align with the ILAs. So that was kind of a technical discussion. And then we set our meeting schedule because we will be going back to in-person meetings for every other meeting. And that was it for the RHC. And our meeting this on April 12th has actually been canceled. So that's my report.
Great, thank you. Councilmember Dahlhoff.
Thank you, Mayor. I've had 4 meetings since our last meeting, and next week is always my bananas week where I have 7 meetings. But I wanted to take this time and just update a couple council members regarding some new information that's come from seniors, right? Which I've talked to the mayor about and staff about. I just want to let Councilmember Schneider, Jefferson, and Peter Gabi know some updated details, and I have a request. So we have recently signed those, approved those tenant protections, right? That includes seniors, right? And there's a line item for the contract with Dispute Resolution Center. It has come to the city's attention that there's 2 manufactured home parks that are having some challenges in communication with owners, managers, and tenants. And so I have gotten the support of Councilmember Kathy, Councilmember Swarthout, and Councilmember Reichholzer to circle back of what we just approved and see if we could rediscuss the challenges with seniors and use those 2 manufactured home parks as case studies, pilots for that DRC. So I want to inform you all, because the request I have is, Councilmember Schneider, I know you do the town center with the lunches. And I'm wondering, with your report and the relationships you have built, if you could capture some stories of any gaps that those seniors are experiencing, right? Because what we have heard and what's going to be coming back to the General Government Committee in June is the percentages. If you raise your rent so much, you have X amount of days. And what we are hearing is that you can give me all the notice you want. If I don't have the money, I don't have the money, right? So that is real-time information that we have received, which is an example of what we do on councils. We get updated information, we circle back and have another conversation, right? And the mayor is going to circle back with Department of Commerce for that one program that there's for manufactured home parks, right? So, you know, we develop this stuff, we have these policies, and then we see the real world application, right? And I feel strongly that we need to carve out seniors, because what I am seeing from just 3 seniors is that they are not eating, and that is unacceptable, right? So I have a site visit this Thursday at the Lacey Food Bank just to check it out. And I'm bringing Leanne Perry, who is the creator of the Little Free Pantry concept, right? And what would that look like for food distribution, right? And I talked to the mayor about, is there any leftover food from those lunches? Could it be delivered to manufactured home parks of those seniors who have food scarcity? Is there an opportunity to do little free pantries there? Is there an opportunity to do community gardens? Angela Jefferson on the board of GRUB, right? So that, and it goes back to Darlene's comment about health and wellness of our seniors, right? Getting outdoors, planting food. So all these things are interconnected. And so I just wanted to take this space to talk about that why I get so passionate about this is because of some other personal experiences with my grandmother, right? My grandmother is no longer with us. So when I see these seniors who are not eating and are terrified, it is unacceptable, right? And this is why we're here, is to have these discussions and serve our community. And this one senior is scared she's going to be pushed out on the streets. And she said she would commit suicide. That is unacceptable. I talked to another senior today, and she said, yes, I have also thought about that as my out instead of being pushed on the streets in my 70s. That is unacceptable. I'm getting a little heated. But just to say, if you're hearing these stories, I know, Angela, you have a lot of connections with veterans in our community. If you can do some touch points. Peter, you work for Department of Health. If you have any stories like that to help us, zhuzh is not really the appropriate word, but updating, right? Modifying our policies. I really think it's important that we do, and Brad is looking at other examples. I know Councilmember Swarhout and her other job is getting examples of rent going up and rent going up and rent going up because they can, right? But if your income's not going up, what can we do policy-wise, right? For subsidies, what would that look like? Or Rent stabilization, what would that look like? So I just want you to capture those stories and what you're hearing, because it's going to come back to us, right? And so I want that intel from you. So thank you.
Leota, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
I'm wanting you just to remind me, you're asking, to capture information about this. You're not wanting just to talk about this issue as it relates to mobile home parks, are you?
I mean, that's how it started, right? With the seniors who have felt comfortable and safe to message the city, right? And we've talked about this. That's how it started. But it is an overarching issue of overall seniors in our community, right? So it's both.
So this would be seniors who are getting hit with large raises in their rent.
I think, yes, for sure. And then the pilot I want to do is with the Dispute Resolution Center is for those 2 manufactured home parks, because that's the challenges that we have received, right? So that's 2 examples right there. And there are other examples, and other examples, right, of those who are not in a manufactured home park and their rents are going up and they're seniors.
Yeah, people on fixed incomes that,
right.
Yeah, their income doesn't match the continual raising of their rent. Yeah, okay, I just wanted to make sure.
Okay, so Council Member Agabi.
That was a long one. So on the 22nd of last month, March, I attended at the EDC board meeting in Chehalis at a very, very, very nice restaurant and brewery. Much bigger than our brewery down here, by the way. So anyhow, the meeting was hosted by the Chehalis tribe chairman, John Flatouch. I think that's how you say his last name. And they gave our financial report. And for our financial report, the only difference this time around, normally we will have a normal financial report that does not include a year-to-date budget and other information, but the new one has year-to-date information and quarterly report. That's the only difference in that. And then we had a roundtable discussion, and since our council member Leota Dahow talked about rent going up, for our roundtable discussion, one of the key discussion was homelessness and our interlocal agreement to address the issue. And here in this council, we had a signed agreement with the hotel across town a few weeks ago. So that is worthy of measure, good for Tumwater. And then at our meeting, we discussed our strategic focus work. So moving forward, we are going to have a strategic focus work group, and this is going to meet on as need basis. And for the personnel that will chair, that will be the president-elect. That would be the chair. The president-elect will be a member of our board, and that would be somebody that's in good standing and has a lot of history about our group, so that person can be kind of like a laboratory to give information as needed. And then we also talked about Emeritus Board. So from what I understand from this was a discussion that they had been talking about before COVID. So as COVID has waned and things are opening up, this Emeritus Board is going to come back into fruition, speaking English, Peter. And this, the EDC president-elect Joseph Bulisho. Okay, I think that's how you say his last name. And executive committee member Brian Fletcher is going to be the people that start us up with this board. And this board has not met yet. How this is going to work is still being discussed. So, Mayor, your name was mentioned during our board meeting, and that has to do with business startup training that is underway, and your name was mentioned as providing an intro to that flyer that went out. So kudos to you, Mayor. And I think that was done for EDC. Oh, our next meeting is April 26th. So yesterday, I had my very first trial baptism. I chaired the JASCOM committee, and that was because our chairman, Lisa, took the night off. So our meeting was very, very brief, thank God. So I did not have, or I was not sent an agenda, so I was just flying by the seat of my pants. But I don't know if I did very well, but it only lasted like 15 minutes. So that's my report. I try to make it short.
Thank you, Councilmember Gabi. Councilmember Jefferson?
Yes, Councilmember Delhoff, I wanted to respond about those seniors. I consider that a 9/11 emergency because they are really hurting right now. And like you said, why not a little food pantry? But there's so much shame and stigma with food insecurity. So I would like to go there for a recon, speak with Meals on Wheels and speak with the food bank. Why not make that a site? So that for me, because I know personally 2 seniors that are living in their vehicles as I walk around Tumwater. So, and it's only going to get worse. So whatever I can do, I will partner with whoever so we can, start to move expeditiously on this because it's saddening. On 29th of March, I too went to the key leaders meeting, and the commanding general for JBLM, he wants to open the gates to the community, and he's going to start now. And we have an air show this summer. So he plans to clear civilians off base to allow quicker movement on base. Of course, he spoke about housing, and lack of housing is his #1 concern, desperately needed, because 70% of his troops are based off post. He houses 30%. So that also is driving up the cost for housing, because if soldiers and airmen take priority and they're paying those massive rents, and then that's increasing the rents for the rest of the civilian population. But he definitely needs those housing, and he wants us to be a little friendlier to troops. He said, just give them a smile or a nod, a thank you for your service. It shows a welcoming community spirit. And he said, we are good stewards, and he's going to make sure that those soldiers take care of all properties that they occupy. He went on to discuss a new program called Partners in Education, where service members who are parents partner, and you're going to love this, Councilmember Kathy. They partner with each middle school and high schools in the community. He said they will be assigned a school where they're going to perform duties like police call, and police call is picking up trash. They're going to do area beautification, and area beautification is called mowing lawns, or mentoring students. Whatever is needed, those soldiers are going to be standing by and ready to serve that school. On the 23rd of March, I had a meeting with 2 YMCA community outreach members. One contacted me for my work with Tumwater Hopes to discuss how they can partner to strengthen belonging, inclusion, mental wellness, and drug abuse prevention for our youths in Tumwater. I'm going to talk about this a little bit more. So I want to take a few minutes to talk about belonging, diversity, and acceptance in our community, because this is a theme that I am hearing. From the CG on base to my YMCA meeting and a community nonprofit agency who I met with a few weeks ago. They wanted to talk about our 21-day racial equity training that we had. So I met with them and I told them all about it. I told them it was a challenge for me and for what they should expect, lessons learned, and America is a wonderful, wonderful nation. However, we are a growing nation, and we need to talk to each other instead of at each other. So take it seriously, but you got to bring people in to educate each other. So I shared my innermost feelings with them and my thoughts about institutional racism. And my thoughts, and I shared with them, especially when we spoke about professionalism and how I was triggered or how I just felt some kind of way because the way that I wear my hair now was considered unprofessional in the military. So I had to straighten my hair every day after PT. It didn't matter how much I can run, how much I can climb that rope. I was still not fitting in as a commissioned officer. So I had to wear my hair straight, damaged my hair. Every 6 weeks, caustic chemicals had to be put on my hair to keep it straight. So it still triggers me and still leaves a bad taste in my mouth. But I explained that to him and I said, we got to look at that as institutional. It's institutions. What policies are we putting into place that is affecting the people that we work with? Myself, I'm almost 60 years old and it still brings back bad memories for me. So after sharing my thoughts, I recently learned that that organization decided to do their own racial equity challenge. And so at the end of my meeting with the Y Outreach team, they asked me if I felt that Tumwater would be willing to partner with them to offer a program for LGBTQIA youth to reduce suicide, self-harm, and foster a sense of belonging. A neighboring city told them absolutely no. So they wanted to know if we at Tumwater were also likely to say no. I thought about the question for a minute and I said, I can't speak for the city, but I personally feel that we, the city of Tumwater, we are trying. We are taking active measures to become more inclusive and a welcoming city. We are opening and accepting of all people. I know this because as a Black woman, an immigrant, a military retired, in executive leadership, I have always felt welcomed and accepted from the day I was unanimously appointed to this city council. We value our Jewish families, our Asian families, our Muslim families, and our immigrant second and third generation Latino families, our LGBTQIA plus coworkers, families, and friends. Finally, to everyone here on this council and those listening to me, this is all because of courageous, selfless leadership, which starts at the top of this city organization. In closing, thank you to all executive leaders and every manager who foster a climate of belonging and acceptance, and who allow our employees and community members to feel valued and accepted just the way they are. Thank you.
Thank you, Council. Okay, Councilmember Snyder, you're going to follow that.
That's a tough one to follow, but thank you for your story and your involvement. I appreciate it, and I'm sure the city does as well. I do not have any reports because I did a 9-day vacation with my twin grandchildren who were in the 8th grade, and I was a chaperone, and we went to Washington, D.C. And that is my report.
Great.
Thank you.
All right, Councilmember Kathy.
Thank you. Angela? I didn't know whether to shout amen, clap, and say to you that I appreciate your honesty and openness and bravery. And I feel like what you did and said tonight is leadership. And I really appreciate it. I appreciate you. And I think you're making a difference in our community and in our city. So thank you for that. As Councilmember Althauser already gave the report, I attended the Regional Housing Council, and I have no other meetings to report and begin my regime again tomorrow morning with the Solid Waste Advisory Council. And that's my report.
Great, thank you very much. All right, any other business? Council, I'm sorry. Administrator Doan.
Thank you.
I just have a quick question. Next Tuesday, in lieu of our work session, we're doing a tour of the Shelton YMCA. I just get a quick count as to how many council members will be on that trip with us. Okay, awesome. Thank you.
All right. So with that, we are adjourned. Have a good evening, everyone.